Lincoln-Douglas debate, LD, is named after 7 debates between Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas in the 1850s. Based on these founding debates, which dealt with the issue of slavery, LD takes a philosophical approach in debating topics dealing with morality. In LD, you'll debate everything from the criminal justice system to illegal drugs to capital punishment to animal rights to war tactics against terrorism. The LD topic changes every 2 months, and the current topic can be accessed at nflonline.org under Resources and Topics. Unless in the United States is specifically stated in the resolution, it applies to the entire world, meaning that case studies, philosophy, statistics, and quotations should come from all over the world. Don't present arguments with the United States or Western bias. Unlike PF, where you're competing with a partner, LD is an individual event, meaning one-on-one. Round is referring to one debate cycle, which typically takes about 45 minutes. Case is the name of a speech. For each topic, you'll prepare 2 cases, one affirmative and one negative. Framework is referring to your value structure, definitions, and observations that make up the introduction to your speech and the foundation for the rest of your case. Card is referring to a piece of research. Flowing is when you make an outline of your opponent's speech while they're presenting it, sort of like taking notes during the round. A bye round takes place at a tournament where there are an odd amount of LDers, and so each round, one person gets to sit out. A bye translates as an automatic win, but you don't get any speaker points. Double-flighted is when there are too many competitors at a debate tournament and not enough judges. There'll be Flight A and Flight B. Spreading is when you talk really fast. It usually involves some sort of foot pounding and really awkward breathing. Judge paradigm is describing the type of judge who's judging you. Lay judges, or mommy judges as we call them, are parents who may have judged a few tournaments, but they're not at all ex-debaters. Traditional judges tend to have debated in high school or college, and they know exactly what they're doing, and they're definitely not going to vote for cases that involve spreading, theory, and other policy-esque elements. Policy judges, on the other hand, as I like to call them, used to either compete in policy or are currently the policy judge at whichever school they're judging at, and so they tend to vote for cases that involve spreading theory and other policy elements. Catering the round to the specific judge is crucial if you want to be successful in debate. At the beginning of the round, you can ask the judge if they have any preferences or what their paradigm is, and then you'll know at the beginning what you can and cannot get away with during the round. A perfect LD round runs for 45 minutes, with each debater getting 13 minutes of speaking time, 3 minutes of cross-examination, and 3, 4, or 5 minutes of prep time depending on the tournament. Prep time can be utilized in between speeches or cross-ex at any time during the round, but most debaters take prep time before they give each rebuttal speech.
Who is Miss Greensfield?
At the beginning of an LD round, the judge will clarify who is who and fill out your names on the ballot.
I'm Diamond Johnson on the negative.
Is it okay if we use our own timers?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna turn mine on airplane mode. At the leisure of my opponent and my judge?
Ready.
Go ahead.
This is procedural. At the leisure of my judge and opponent. You need to say it at the beginning of each speech and at the beginning of cross-ex.
Modern philosopher Dr. Samuel Johnson said, "The fact that there is such thing as twilight."
Starting off the constructive with a grab or hook is optional, but inserting a nice quote adds ethos to the intro of your case. Delving beyond an introduction in the affirmative constructive, what we're also looking at in a good case are observations, which are setting up parameters of the resolution, definitions defining all necessary words in the resolution, your value and criterion, which is where the morality part of LD comes in, and finally your 2 or 3 contentions, which makes up the body of your case. The value premise is exactly what it sounds like. You're taking an ambiguous idea and you're valuing it. So essentially, by fulfilling your side of the resolution, we're going to be fulfilling this value, and you need to prove that in your case. The criterion, sometimes called the value criterion, is a bit trickier to understand, but your criterion is achieving your value. So if your criterion is life, then that could be achieving a value of societal advancement, because if more people are living, then more people are going to be working and creating. It is paramount that you're defining your value and criterion, and you're citing a philosopher who you're getting your information from. There are different types of consequentialism and multitudes of social contract theories, so you need to be specific. While the affirmative constructive is being read, the judge is going to be taking notes and listening to the speech, while the debater who is negative is going to be flowing the case. Flowing is basically taking notes of whatever the person is saying. On your flow sheet, make 3 columns, the first being what your opponent says, the second being your rebuttal to that, and the third, their response to your rebuttal. Since you have a limited amount of prep time, you're going to be reading off and outlining your rebuttals, and so having it organized onto a flow sheet makes it very easy for the judge to follow your arguments.
Therefore, I stand in firm affirmation. Okay, do you want to sit or stand for cross-eggs?
Stand. Okay, so first question, what exactly is moral significance and how can you prove it?
During each cross-ex, one person is asking questions and one person is answering them. Diamond is negative, and so in the first cross-ex, she is asking all the questions. In the second cross-ex, she is answering all the questions. During cross-ex, if you ever don't know what to say in response to your opponent, ask them to rephrase the question. This just gives you a few extra seconds to think of a response.
What was your value?
My value is life, and basically that goes along with my first and second contention. In my first contention, Peter Singer is talking about how we can prevent poverty.
A technique that many abusive debaters use during cross-ex is when you ask a very simple question, they'll go off and just start summarizing their entire speech just to waste the cross-ex time so that you can't actually ask them legitimate questions. What you need to do is be super assertive and interrupt them.
Judge ready? Opponent? I say in the negation of resolve, individuals have a moral obligation to assist people in need. The burden of the affirmative is in this debate is to prove that resolution action plausible, and then the obligation can be compulsory. And if cannot be made compulsory, then the impact of resolution must be proved significant and effective.
Spreading is talking really, really fast. It's something that will cause you to automatically lose the round with most traditional and lay judges. If spreading is your style, make sure ahead of time that the judge will be able to understand the speed that you are speaking at. Even though you might go against an opponent who you don't have any research against, going on your laptop or your phone or your iPad to look up rebuttals to their arguments is not the answer. But that's a great way to get yourself disqualified from the tournament.
There's no bridal entire life theory because she's...
Remember that the first negative speech is a constructive and a rebuttal. So when you're pre-writing your speech, make sure it's only 3 or 4 minutes so that you have a substantial amount of time to refute your opponent's case. You need to address your opponent's value structure, burdens, observations, and each of their points. If you accidentally forget to refute their second contention, that's called being dropped, meaning you drop the point, which is assumed by the judge that you agree with their point.
At the leisure of my judge to begin cross-ex. Okay, what is your value?
My value is life.
What is your criterion?
Social utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill.
And how do you define that?
What you shouldn't do during cross-ex is have your opponent summarize their entire speech to you. You should be flowing your opponent's value structure and contentions while they're presenting their speech, not during cross-ex. It's okay to get a couple things clarified, but use cross-ex to move the debate forward.
Miss Greensfield, your time is up.
When prep time is up, stop writing. Don't be this person.
Wait, can I have like 1 more minute of prep time?
If it's your turn to present your speech, don't spend 40 seconds organizing your papers. The purpose of the first affirmative rebuttal speech is twofold. You need to refute your opponent's case while also supporting your own. Any rebuttals that your opponent has introduced against your speech, you need to address. When your speaking time is up, stop talking.
Miss, please sit down. Your time's up.
And
Please
therefore,
sit
I urge
down.
an affirmative ballot.
Okay, so for my rebuttal, I'm going to be presenting a counter plan, and what my counter plan is going to be saying is that
Presenting a counter plan is something that is never allowed in an LD tournament. If your opponent ever presents a counter plan, you need to address that in the rebuttal to get that point or their entire case, if their whole case is a counter plan, taken out of the debate because it's abusive and it's against the LD rules.
At the leisure of my opponent and my judge. Okay, so to begin the last speech, I just want to talk about border issues that are going to definitely be in this round.
When you're neg, don't disrespect the last AF speech by packing up your stuff super noisily and texting your friends. Just sit quietly and listen to the speech, pack up afterwards.
So to end the round, I want to introduce a new point for the affirmative, and that's societal advancement.
New arguments are not allowed in the last speech. You are allowed to bring up new research to support points and rebuttals already introduced, but you're not allowed to bring up new points.
And so therefore, I urge an affirmative ballot.
After the round has ended, don't pretend like it's still going on by continuing to argue.
she's a terrible behavior.
To Determinism is such an ambiguous philosophy.
No one really knows why we should have life. Like, that was a terrible
No, like
one.
determinism, like every philosopher ever has a really good rebuttal.
Finally, thank your judge for taking 8 hours out of their weekend to come judge the debate tournament.
Okay, so my value is life and my opponent's value is, what is your value?
Okay, what was your value?
Okay, so what is my value?
Life. Yeah, my pants are black too. Oh, we never wear black pants. Being as a teacher from a girl who had to get rid of seamstress. I was like, do that for a bit. Okay, well, you stated with your Johnson quote that we do not know exactly what twilight is, but say someone beat what is my. I was trying to
With a debate on the value.
That's what people do.